I think most of us remember the Brady Bunch. This perfectly blended family, 6 kids, 2 parents, 1 house, and a dog, and the maid Alice. And every episode had this sweet little moral lesson wrapped up in about 22 minutes with the famous song, the Brady Bunch. But let's be honest, the Bradys did not prepare us for blended family life in 2025. I mean, besides the Marcia, they didn't talk about different parenting styles, emotional triggers, healing childhood wounds, co-parenting with exes, or kids trying to find their place between 2 homes. I mean, honestly, when I think about it, I don't even know where the original biological parents were, but again, I digress. See, they gave us the fairy tale of blending families, but nobody warned us about the tightrope we'd walk to actually hold one together. You know how the Brady Bunch theme song starts playing in your head the moment you think about blended families? Yeah, that was cute on TV, but in real life, blending a family is less, here's the story, and more, Lord, give me strength, patience, and a snack. And in my case, a cup of coffee. Welcome back to Mocha at Marchelle's, where we keep it real about life, family, business, and everything in between, with a warm cup and a whole lot of truth. I'm your host, Stevon Marchelle. Now, I didn't come into this parenting journey with a handbook for the blended family life. Instead, I walked in with love, a willingness to learn, and a whole lot of trial and error. And over time, our home became our vision of the Black Brady Bunch. Not picture perfect, but rooted, intentional, and built with love, boundaries, and blended grace. So I want to share a story of some of the differences between how my husband and I parent. Morning routines was like one of the biggest adjustments that we had in our household, where in the morning, I'm kind of like more of on the go, on the fly, grab yourself, some independent breakfast is what I label it. That could be, popping a waffle in the toaster. It could be grabbing a cup of coffee as you head out of the door. But for me, the morning is more of getting all of your stuff together and being on a routine schedule. Where my husband, his is a bit more of a slower morning routine. And he's better at getting up early, making breakfast for the kids, like a hot breakfast. I couldn't even believe it. He wants to make pancakes, make sausage, and I'm like, really? We're sitting down for breakfast? For me, that's like a Sunday routine. But definitely we learned to make those adjustments and to make sure that our parenting styles started complementing each other instead of competing with one another. So it became less of a tug of war of, whose morning routine is better, which honestly, I think his is. But it became more of what works for you and how do you implement that balance. So now we actually kind of combine most morning routines. Like some days Papa Collet will make a hot breakfast and other mornings it's like, hey, independent breakfast. And our kids know what that means. They know what that means and how to adjust. Okay, before we dive in, quick sip break. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing, or you need a notary, trust paperwork, or consulting services, SMB Real Estate and Professional Services is here to guide you. I'm all about legacy, generational wealth, and elevating your experience. Visit www.stevonb.kw.com or DM me on Instagram and we'll get connected. Okay, so back to when blending feels more like braiding. Blending a family isn't a one-time mix. It's a braid. Each strand, each parent, each child, each dynamic keeps its identity, but we learn how to weave together in a way that holds. And listen, that weaving isn't seamless. There are knots. There are loose ends. There are moments where the braid looks lopsided and you're like, who did this? But with time, intention, and humility, you find a rhythm. For us, that rhythm didn't show up overnight. It took learning, each child individually, respecting the existing bonds and choosing not to force an instant family. We built trust one moment, one conversation, one misstep, and repair at a time. And for us, I want to give you a quick story about how this dynamic became apparent with, what we call each other. So my boys call me Miss Stevan. And I know that sounds very formal. My employees call me Miss Stevan. But that was the name that they gave me when they were 4 years old, when we met each other, 4 and 6. They were young. And it's, it hasn't really evolved into mom. We're trying to find a new, more endearing word, but somehow Miss Stevan just still keeps rolling off the tongue. And my girls call my husband Papa Collet. And it was kind of like a mixture. That one was another nickname that was inherited because my stepdad, I called him Papa Bear. So these names, it's so funny. My mom's just like, okay, you guys are like almost 10 years in and you still have these names that sound so formal. And the kids are like, they kind of laugh about it. And I told my mom, I'm like, at this point, I think that just whatever they feel comfortable with works for me. I already know that I am momming it to everybody. I already know that I'm parenting to everybody. So I think that I'm okay. But that is something that we're learning to work through because I know for the kids, it's, it may be uncomfortable for them to make sure that they are respecting their own biological parent without crossing any type of boundaries. And I'm aware of that. So keeping that awareness, I say, what's in a name? So anyways, I'm a mom of many hats, and one of those is curating products that support homes, parents, and families just like yours. Head on over to Our Family Store. On Instagram, it's at Our Family Store 2025, or you can visit our shop for family-friendly products that make life a little easier, a little more fun, and a lot more intentional. So, back to co-parenting with respect and just with reality. One thing that I always say is we meet each parent where they are. Co-parenting isn't about perfection. It's about respect, communication, and consistency. And sometimes the best choice you can make is to focus on the foundation of your home. You set the tone. You model the standards. You create the emotional safety, structure, and values that your children experience when they're with you. They call this in some of my parenting classes, they refer to this as parallel parenting, where you just really are just focused on your own parenting style because you cannot control what goes on in the other household. And here's the truth most people don't say out loud. Even co-parenting with your spouse takes some adjustment. I told you about our story of us adjusting to just simply the morning routines. But if we think about it, blending finances, traditions, discipline styles, love languages, we had to learn that we're a team, not competing for who's the fun parent or who gets the gold star. Blending doesn't mean losing yourself. Your identity matters. Your self-care, your voice, your needs, your dreams. A blended family can thrive when the adults show up whole, honest, and willing to evolve. And this is something that my husband and I had to learn how to do, is make space for each other, for our relationship, for the foundation that we're setting, sometimes with the schedule. So we've got 4 children. We've got one ex-husband, 2 different mothers. So we're looking at a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 different, 5 different parents. Then on top of that, we've got grandparents that are in the picture. And I thank God for the grandparents. My mom is so active. My dad, my stepdad, my husband's mom, and Josiah's grandmother, they really show up into the plate and really help us to pull off this blending journey. So we find that the rotating schedules, sometimes some of those trains are the grandma train. Are you jumping on the grandma train to get to Los Angeles? And, it really takes a lot of coordinating. And in coordinating all of those schedules, the communication can drop off. So it became so important for my husband and I to make sure that we prioritize ourselves, that we prioritize our love, that we prioritize the foundation that we're setting that models to the children what love looks like. And that was something that, we're pruning, breaking through generational cycles of what we saw modeled to us and what we want to learn and what we want to model to our children. So I talked before about, sometimes, especially Black families that have been broken and that are learning these blending mastery steps, sometimes we got to look to the experts. And that's where I sought out relational experts, and they have them out there. The Freemans, I love the Freemans. That was the first time my husband and I took a class. It was a seminar. We went out to Arizona for this, actually, so that we can start learning communication styles, love languages, how to make sure that we're caring for each other in a way that's going to allow us to really, truly evolve. So with that said, I had to learn that love doesn't mean overextending, doesn't mean fixing everything or being the default parent. It means showing up with grace and truth, holding boundaries with love, and giving kids the space to grow into who they are, not who we mold them to be. And yes, like I said, therapy, prayer, conversations, and accountability all played a role. Because, let's think about it. The children themselves, they did not choose the divorce. They did not choose to grow up in a broken family structure. They did not choose to even have a blended family. These are the circumstances that we presented to them. So it's so humbling to really look at it from their perspective, blending a family from the respect of the children and their experience. So before we move further into one more ad break, need reliable, professional transportation for your next event, airport run, or family travel? Lux Life Transportation Service offers premium, family-friendly service with comfort and class. From airport pickups to special occasions, travel with ease and elevate the journey. Follow us on Instagram and DM Lux for booking details. So in close, if your blended family doesn't look like the Brady Bunch, good. Real families aren't scripted. They're built. And if you're in the thick of blending, keep braiding, keep showing up, keep loving intentionally, and give everyone, including yourself, space and grace to grow. I'll give you one more story. So she's like a godmother to me. She was my child care provider. Literally, she taught me how to read. Miss Hill, I love you if you're listening. Miss Hill shared with me two things as she saw me beginning in my blended journey. And she says, Stevon, remember this. Kids only need two things. They need love and discipline. And discipline doesn't always have to show up as a negative. Discipline is also structure. It shows up in the routines. And so to keep it that simple, whenever it gets so complicated for me, I always go back to those two principles. Children need love and discipline. So thank you for sharing this cup with me today. If this episode blessed you, encouraged you, or made you laugh, share it with another parent who needs to hear that they're not alone. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and remember, your family's blend is beautifully yours. This is Mocha at Marchelle's, where conversation meets clarity, growth meets grace, and every episode fills your cup.